I mean, you've done package development, you've done project management, you've done a little sales, you've built a
Yeah.
packaging group, you've led a packaging team.
Med device packaging, there's nothing sexy about it, right? Our job is to basically make ourselves imperceptible, but it becomes very apparent very quickly when something happens with that package, how important it is. Like what's on the horizon? What are the problems, the big wicked problems that we're trying to solve? Having to do stability testing for commonly used materials over and over and over again. Is there a smarter way to do it? And a common phrase that came up, what were they thinking? What were they thinking when they put this in there? What were they thinking when they put that in there? And then you get to be part of the they, be a master of your destiny as opposed to a victim of circumstance. Like we went to school to do the technical stuff. There are procedures on how to help you out of a problem. In sales, what works one time may not work the next time, and it may actually backfire on you if you try to apply it. Write it and then read it as if you're receiving it, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to put out into the universe that which you don't want to get.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Packaging Speaks. I'm your host, Christian. I'm very excited to be joined by Jen Benolken today. Jen is an MDM and Regulatory Specialist at DuPont, has been in the packaging industry a long time, is a well-known leader in the space. I'm very excited to have her here today, not only to talk about her current role, but also some of the trade associations and other memberships that she has, and all the different ways she plugs into the packaging community. I think she's got a lot of great knowledge, and I want to make sure that we share that with everyone we can. So, welcome, Jen. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Christian. Very happy to be here.
Awesome. So, I will get straight to it. I guess, talk to me about your current role. What are you doing at DuPont?
I've been here for almost 9 years, which I am struggling with comprehending because it's the longest I've ever been in a role at a company. I've been worked about half of my career has worked on the medical device manufacturer or MDM side. About half of it has been on the supply side. Um, I, Again, I'm kind of flabbergasted that I've been 34 years in industry because I can't believe I'm talking in multiple decades still.
Right?
And that I'm, almost 9 years at DuPont. I think the thing that has probably kept me in this role is the wide variety of things that I get to do. Um, it
Does
kind
that
of is.
explain that? Does that explain the job title that you put on your LinkedIn profile? What is that? A regular sales volunteer something? What is that?
Yeah, Regusalesgineerultantolunteer. So when I first started with DuPont, I just had it as sales engineer ultant because I'm in sales, but I can't sell anything. Um, uh, I participate and help people from an engineering standpoint. My role is really to help people use Tyvek in their packaging. And so people will reach out to me, not only my, existing customers, but also I get inquiries in through the system. If they're needing technical assistance or having some issues or whatever, I'm the first stop within DuPont to help them solve issues. If I can't help them from a functional standpoint of the medical device manufacturer engineering side of things, then I have resources internal to DuPont that I can pull
Right.
in to have part of the conversation. So it's just, and then I also act as a consultant. That's part of the engineer side too, right? Like, hey, Jen, what do you think about this? Have you heard about this before, right? So then after a few years of being here, they added, and, I was active in Amy through the sterilization standards group with working group 7, which is the packaging it's the US mirror group for writing ISO 11607 and 16775. Um, so I'm just rolling off of being co-chair for
Everybody
that.
who's not a technical person just left, but that's okay because our
No,
primary
it is,
our
yeah,
primary audience is technical people.
yeah. So that's when I added the regu part of it.
Yeah.
And then A dear friend of mine challenged me because he teases me about being a frequent volunteer of things, and he challenged me to see if I could get volunteer into the title as well.
Did
So
it?
there's 5 different segments that I, frequently participate in as part of my role.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Um, so 9 years at DuPont.
Yeah.
You threw some technical stuff in there, just in case some non-technical people stuck with us. Can you want to tell me just a little bit about what Tyvek is and why it's important?
Sure. Tyvek was invented in the 60s and used in medical device packaging for the first time in 1972. It's been a workhorse of med device packaging, allowing sterility to happen through a multitude of different sterilization modalities. Probably most significantly, ethylene oxide, anything that needs a permeable barrier. It's also fantastic because, even in modalities where permeability is not needed, um, most packages will probably go through some altitude changes at some point through like air travel or whatever. It'll help that package stay intact and sterile until the point of use.
Hmm.
Its microbial barrier properties are fantastic. Through working with DuPont, we've had customers infer that other permeable materials are equally as good from a microbial barrier standpoint as Tyvek. And that's just generally not super true, especially of, like paper products that are a common competitive product to Tyvek. It's a spun bonded high density polyethylene. It's 100% high density polyethylene. It doesn't have any additives in it. It's USP compliant, the 10 series, 1073B and 1059B. 2FS isn't, so there's only 3 grades that are really used in the medical device packaging. But yeah, it's been a constant throughout my entire career. It's really fun working at DuPont. When I first started so many years ago, and my co-op experience is where I fell in love with packaging because I'm actually a packaging imposter. I have an undergrad in manufacturing systems engineering,
Hmm.
but I had a 5-year co-op program through the school that I went to, and I worked at a medical device company. And the first job that they put me on was working with the sterile pack operators. And that's
Okay.
literally where I fell in love with it. Many people have heard me talk about this before. And I can still remember during my 5 years being there, being exposed not only to Tyvek, but they used to, send out communications. And along the way, I got to know the MDM reps that were, working with my company as I
Hmm.
progressed through my career. And they saved me quite a few times, things that either I had done in the course of developing earlier on in my career, like different packaging designs and stuff, or if things had happened inadvertently to them, say, you know, a big huge storm came through and the warehouse roof leaked and dumped a whole bunch of water on the packages that were in the warehouse. Um, so being able to contact someone at DuPont and have them help me understand what the implications are so that I can make a more informed decision is ultimately what helped lead me to want to work at DuPont.
Okay.
And also again, it's like Tyvek is just it's it's such a fantastic product in and of itself. Um, it just it saves people and companies in so many respects just by picking the material in the first place in a number of ways, right? It gets that product able to be sterilized in the first place.
Right.
It helps keep and maintain its sterility up to the point of use. And then in the point of use, it doesn't produce a lot of lint or particles that could be carrying microbes and land in the wound site or the surgical site. So it's you know there's a whole bunch of reasons why Tyvek is awesome
Yeah.
and what it does. It's not just a packaging material. And I'm rambling at this point.
No, that was great stuff. The only um it's interesting though, I mean, and for good reason, I suppose. You listed off a lot of great reasons why Tyvek is awesome, but sustainability wasn't any of the words that you
Oh,
used, was it?
I didn't. I mean, that is definitely a newer topic.
Yeah,
Within the med device industry, it's been quite a
right.
while for CPG. But med device, it's definitely been a hotter topic over the last few years. We actually just introduced Tyvek with renewable attribution last fall into the market, and so we have quite a few leading medical device manufacturers looking at it as an option right now. Basically, what it is, it's the mass balance approach, but it's renewable, right? And so that comes into our process and then it helps not only organizations, it's ISCC plus certified, so it can help people or different companies in their own aspirations for their sustainability goals, or they can pass it down to their customers ultimately. But it, also even before all of the Tyvek with renewable attribution, Tyvek is a recyclable material.
Hmm.
And not all materials for med device packaging are recyclable. So as recyclability comes more and sustainability becomes more important to the end users, to the hospitals and healthcare systems, they're knowing that it's a recyclable material will help them as well.
Right.
Um,
If
yeah,
it's collected and recycled, right? I
right,
mean,
right, yep. Well, and that's that. I mean, sustainability. You spend two hot seconds in it to realize that it's a lot bigger.
yeah,
That I mean, it's a big word in the first place just by number of letters, but sustainability is a big umbrella for a lot of different types of things that you can do to be sustainable, right? Um, So, DuPont is also involved with HPRC as one of the, earlier members of that organization, trying to work all along the value chain from a sustainability aspect, including into the recycling end of things. So
I might
we're
be an
trying to
outsider here.
go
Can you tell me
after
what the
many things.
HPRC is? Can you tell me what that is?
Healthcare Plastics Recycling Council, I
Oh,
believe it
okay.
is. Yep.
Great.
And what they've found is kind of along the lines of what you're talking about is not all recyclers can take medical packaging, specifically Tyvek. More and more are being able to take that
Right.
on. But a lot of healthcare systems, there's healthcare providers that are also involved with HPRC. They struggle with being able to recycle materials in the first place because a lot of the hospitals were built, now some of them a couple hundred years ago, and they don't have space. And
Right.
so to store that material to get it to a recycling facility is not easy for them. Or in other cases, maybe like in the Midwest, right, where there's a ton of space around them, they don't have a recycler close enough to
Hmm.
be able to take it to a recycling. So HPRC is really looking at how do we tackle some of those types of aspects in in the realm of sustainability.
Okay. Great. One of the things that stands out to me when, looking from a recruiter's perspective, looking at your profile, is the number of different associations and boards and other things it seems like you've really been a part of. Um, I know that you've worked volunteer into your title at the top of your LinkedIn post because it's something you like to do, but uh, those pieces are really interesting to me, and I think probably interesting to others. Can you talk about some of these organizations you're a part of and or leading, and why you've chosen these and what they do?
Oh, sure, sure, absolutely. So I talked a little bit about the Amy side of things.
Yep.
In having been the co-chair for the Amy working group,
And
that
what is that again?
automatically working group 7 through the sterilization committee with
Yes.
Amy
Right.
sterilization. So that automatically put me into representing the United States as an expert into the ISO community. So I get to work with others from an international perspective at the ISO level.
Excellent.
And now I'm secretary of the TC Technical Committee 198, Working Group 7, which is also packaging at the ISO level. So, the Bible that we live by in designing and developing packaging materials and sterile barrier systems, ISO 11607, it's, part one and two, very important. We have part three coming out soon. It's addressing the concept of process development. Part two talks about you need to have process development, but it doesn't say much about how to go about doing it. And so part three is really kind of going after that. We're also working on a storage and transport guide, if you will. Technical specification, technically, is what it's called at the ISO level, that healthcare companies can use to handle sterile barriers devices within their systems, because they don't necessarily always understand either how best to store and handle those packages once they come into the healthcare system. So that's Amy and ISO, and then ASTM. So that's like the standards and regulations side, right?
Right.
Then ASTM, I'm involved with that. They create a lot of the test methods that are commonly used for med device packaging and probably for a lot of other forms of packaging as well. I'm involved with F2 and D10 on that side of things, a little bit heavier in the F2 side of things, because again, those are where the test methods are developed, that packaging engineers and test houses use on a regular basis. My interest in being involved with both those organizations is, when I was on the MDM side, I would often speak with or converse with, the people in the groups that I worked with. And a common phrase that came up when we were talking about is, what were they thinking? What were they thinking when they put this in there? What were they thinking when they put that in there? And so in being involved in those organizations, even though I may not always agree with what the consensus ultimately says, yes, we're good with this, I know why.
Right.
Right. I was there and part of the conversations. And so the cool part of that is in my current role, I can bring that into industry for, people that aren't necessarily able to be involved. But I would encourage, and I do encourage people on a regular basis to get involved if they can. I mean, most medical device manufacturers are a member of AMI. To be a member of ASTM, I think it's like $125 a year or $150 a year, which your company would likely reimburse you for anyway.
Right.
And then you get to be part of the they, and be a master of your destiny as opposed to a victim of circumstance. So that's why I'm involved with those. Yeah, that's why I'm involved with those. Multiple purpose. Not only is it helping to set the course of the future in testing and in how we look at things. I get to grow professionally as well, and the community that I get to participate in both of those groups is fantastic. And coming out of them, I have a whole bunch of people to reach out to if I have a question about something, and they do to me too. So it's a two-road street, or two-way street. That's what I can't always get those sayings correctly. So that's that side. And then I'm also involved with the Medical Device Packaging Technical Committee through IOP.
Right.
I've been chair of that for a few years now. This is going to be my final term. I do believe, and I encourage the entire board to be there for a few years, but don't reside there, because it's a chance to try out leadership before potentially actually becoming a leader within your own organization. And we need fresh voices to come in and out of that organization as well. So since I've been involved with that, we've radically overhauled how we operate. We developed a fundamentals of medical device packaging course that's offered at MDM West every year in conjunction with IOP. And it's a 3 half-day course that is intentionally placed at MDM West so that we can have some field trips, if you will, out to the floor to touch and feel equipment and materials and everything. Because so many companies now don't have manufacturing on site at their headquarters or where the packaging engineers are located. And here we are expecting these packaging engineers to design packaging to be sealed on equipment that they've never seen. With materials that maybe they've never touched.
Yeah.
And so it's designed to be an immersive course. And so it's got a packed agenda, and it's great because it's a community effort. We have different representatives from all different aspects of industry teaching different parts of the course over the 3 days. And I actually just had a student from this last course this last winter reach out to me via LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I enjoyed the course so much. I'm telling everyone within my organization they need to go to it. And I really want to get involved with it next time." So it's put on all volunteer. But yeah, so the intent of MDPTC at this point, while being a technical committee, is really to help along a professional's own development through their career. So we reach out to colleges and talk about what med device packaging is all about. Going back to the med device packaging, there's nothing sexy about it, right?
Right.
Most packaging people have never even thought about the concept of med device packaging. Not all of the schools have a med device packaging course to take.
Sure.
And so we're trying to introduce the concept to them so that they are excited and want to come into the industry. And then once they're in the industry, we have like a mentor-mentee program where we connect them with more tenured professionals so that they can learn about what it's like to be in the industry and talk about some of those tough things that maybe you don't want to talk about with your own colleagues within your own organization. And so we have that. We have this fundamentals course to help, both new professionals, new entrants to industry, as well as seasoned professionals. We've had, attendees that have been in the industry for 20 plus years attend and say, yeah, I got something out of it. So, for the older professionals, as Karen Green has referenced it, longer in the tooth professionals, like I am getting to be at this point, it's, we're at the point in our career where we want to give back to the community, to the younger professionals. And in our jobs, especially at medical device manufacturers, organizations have trimmed so much fat that they don't have the time to mentor and help those junior professionals as much as maybe say we were when we were entering into our career. And so hopefully MDPTC is creating those programs that allows some of that to happen.
Great.
Again, for progressing through their career. For those that are a little bit more, closer to the mid end of their career, or even really early career professionals as well, I'm involved with an organization called KIP. It originated out of the Kilmer Conference in 2019, a conference that Johnson & Johnson had hosted since inception, I think 20 years ago plus possibly, in the aspect of sterility assurance and maintenance, and historically has been more focused on the microbiological side of things. But in 2019, there was more of a focused effort on including packaging as part of that conversation, because clearly you can't have a sterile device without a package to get you there.
Yeah.
And you can't separate the two, and many companies keep them very separated, and it's not a good idea. So Kilmer Conference is trying to bring that together. It's now managed by PDA and an AMI organization. So that one is looking more at like what's on the horizon, what are the problems, the big wicked problems that we're trying to solve. Um, because the other organizations that I've already talked about don't have the bandwidth or really necessarily the scope to look at those problems that are on the horizon that plague everybody that no one can solve on their own.
Which are what?
One of the big projects that we have going on right now is a wicked stability project where we're looking at the concept of having to do stability testing for commonly used materials over and over and over again.
Hmm.
Is there a smarter way to do it? Can we try to reduce the amount of testing that it needs to take to ultimately reduce the amount of time in R&D for the package? There's another group that is looking at the concept of aseptic handling and presentation on the healthcare provider side. How do we try and minimize the potential for contamination as much as possible?
Mm-hmm.
What are the techniques that are currently being used? Which techniques produce the least likelihood or potential for contamination to happen? We've published some drying studies on the last 100 yards that the device hits the door up to the point of use, but not including the point of use. What happens to that device during that time within the healthcare system? We've done quite a few podcasts through HSPA, which is the reprocessing side of things for healthcare central services departments, or CPPD, I think, CSSD. They have a few different acronyms that they call them. But really looking at that side of things, how do we reduce potential for microorganisms to be on the devices through packaging on that side? And then it also, your favorite topic, has a sustainability end of life group as well that looks at, from an organizational standpoint, from an industrial standpoint, how do we move the concept of sustainability forward in ways that we can? How do we help people understand what sustainability means, that type of thing? So
Yeah.
I think that covers most of the groups. I'm also part of another group that's broader than just packaging, but that KIP group is part of. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm lucky in that my organization lets me participate in these activities. It's a really cool place to be able to be in my career.
Sounds like you're doing a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I like that. And um, I like your focus on giving back, volunteering your time. It's as now I do a lot of volunteering myself. Actually, I'm right now. My day job obviously is recruiting packaging engineers. So much of my volunteer life in the youth soccer committee is recruiting people to come and coach teams, or we need a couple more players. And getting people to volunteer for stuff these days is just hard.
It is.
There's a lot of demand on people's times, and notifications are constantly going off and pulling you back to your screen. I had a notification go off a second ago. Sorry about that.
No, all good.
And getting people to spend their time on stuff that is maybe does not have the most direct benefit to them, I feel like is really hard right now. So thank you for taking the time to do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It may not have a direct impact on them right now, but it will likely
It
in the
will.
future. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You and I talked a
Hmm.
little bit about, you know, if you after you spend some time in medical device, it's not common for packaging engineers to leave the space. You almost get pigeonholed in a little bit. You've got this medical device experience, and now it's not really, sure you can maybe you understand flexible packaging and barrier properties and all this stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can work on the timelines associated with like at a cheese company or something like that, where they've got the flexible packaging, but they're working with marketing and their projects are moving so much faster and all that stuff. Um, you really kind of fell in love with the medical side though, didn't you?
I did, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned my co-op experience. It was literally day one that I fell in love with the concept of med device. Um,
Even though you also earlier on said to me that some of the medical device manufacturers you worked at really considered packaging to be a necessary evil and not an opportunity.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in other segments of packaging, packaging sells the product. Um, it doesn't as much on the med device side. It's the device that's selling the product, not the packaging.
Right.
And so, it's it's a it's a necessary evil, if you will. And when you're anywhere in the med device industry side of packaging, you're constantly educating people about the fact that it is important, and they should want people like me and my colleagues in industry to exist because we do help protect them every single time they go to, a doctor and get blood
Hmm.
drawn or have a surgical procedure done, or, to a certain respect, even when if they use a bandage on a wound. You know, those things are all sterile, and without
Right.
us, it healthcare would be a totally different landscape. So yeah, it's unfortunate that packaging isn't always seen as important as it is by organizations. But generally, all it takes is one recall for companies to realize how important it
How
is.
important it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
generally we're kind of invisible. Sorry, this one's kind of important. We're
no,
like
do it.
our job is to basically make ourselves imperceptible, right? That we don't exist.
Yeah.
Make the packaging easy to use, make it work the way it's supposed to work. And that makes us seem unimportant,
When it's all
right?
working.
It's all working. Yeah. But it becomes very apparent very quickly when something happens with that package how important it is.
Right.
So we don't usually get recognized until something goes wrong.
Hmm. Well, Uh, that I, and that may be change. I don't know if it's changing in medical devices or not. It sounds like maybe perceptions are changing a little bit. Certainly in the consumer-driven spaces, packaging is less and less an afterthought and more the starting point.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think the industry, the wider industry is getting more recognition. I think packaging engineering as a career is certainly growing, and more people are seeing it as an option. And I hope that continues or spreads to medical devices too. It'd be great for y'all to feel a little more valued over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that we aren't valued. It's once people realize it, they value us for the rest
Uh,
of their careers
and
and their
actually,
lives, likely. Yeah.
start using the value word. I don't know that I'd have to go back and see if I have data to back it up, but my life experience has taught me that packaging engineers in the medical device spaces are often paid more than their counterparts in consumer-driven industries.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah,
and
packaging sells, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, even if consumer driven is not your thing, if you like the slower pace, or if maybe perhaps money's your thing, medical device could be a great direction for you to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yeah.
Uh, okay. So what's you're involved in all these organizations. You're still heavily involved at DuPont. But I mean, I feel like you probably have some insight into what's coming in the packaging world and medical devices. Can you look into your crystal ball a little bit? Are there trends you would point at? Are there red flags approaching? What about like I've had a lot of conversations with people recently about extended producer responsibility. Is that hit medical device or are you guys exempt from that?
It is, and it already is more so like in the European market than the
Yeah.
United States. There's the PPWR, which is impacting and affecting all of packaging and waste regulation. It's med device packaging is somewhat exempt for a while, but at some point it
Okay.
will be, more directly impacting us. To my understanding, there are certain countries, not necessarily all of the EU, I think it's just specific countries that do a charge back for the waste management of the packaging
Hmm.
that's used for the devices. Um, I do think that the sustainability aspect is going to continue to be more and more important globally for all of packaging, not just med device. But yeah, I mean, med device kind of lags behind consumer products because we just frankly don't make as much
Well, that's
packaging.
true too.
And then the other part of it is, it's human critical, it's life critical. Not that like
Yep.
food and other industry aspects aren't, but med device kind of plays in a different realm with some of the regulations that exist
Absolutely.
around the world and how the products need to be sterile and validated and all of that through the regulations again that are around the world from different governments from a health and human safety standpoint. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think yeah,
Fascinating.
sustainability is probably the big hitter for the foreseeable future.
Okay. That's encouraging, I guess. Is that, hmm, does that include carbon emissions? Are we looking at like life cycle analysis, or are we just
Oh
saying,
yeah,
oh, yeah, yeah, great.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, absolutely includes that. I am not well versed in the concept of LCA, so I can't really speak to it.
Others are doing
But
it though.
others are doing it absolutely, absolutely. It's becoming more and more part of the vernacular within the industry. People are very
Right.
familiar and comfortable in using the term LCA. They know what it means. They may
Yeah.
not necessarily understand the math behind it at this point, but they know what it represents for sure.
Hopefully the people doing the assessment understand the math behind it.
I think, yeah, hopefully they do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Um, I mean, you seem very happy. Do you have any what I asked what's next for the industry. What's next for you personally? Do you have any goals left? You're a leader in the industry. You're pretty well recognized. You speaking at conferences and all this stuff. You kind of made it, right?
I
What
did, yeah. Honestly, Christian, this is the first time in my life that I probably don't have my what's next planned.
okay.
I have thoughts. I would like to retire from DuPont, but I don't have a crystal ball as to whether that will actually happen
Sure.
or not. I really like the role that I get to play here. There's some potential for growth into the future. You never know. But the width of the runway that I get to play in is probably broader than any other role that I've had before.
There's a lot to be
And
said
just
for that.
yeah, just getting to work with so many fantastic professionals in industry just, invigorates me every day. It's, the brains that I get to work with. It's really
Hmm.
pretty cool. You don't necessarily get that when you're working in an organization that doesn't interplay with other organizations. I think you kind of touched on the concept of the different roles I've played before. So I've been, on the technical side, I've been on the sales side.
Yeah, I mean, you've done package development, you've done project management, you've done a little sales, you've built a
Yeah.
packaging group, you've led a packaging team. There's all these associations we talked about. You've got a lot of good stuff in your background.
Yeah, yeah. People will sometimes, especially younger professionals, will ask me, how did I get into sales? Do I like being in sales? And I will
Hmm.
tell them every time that sales has been more difficult and harder than working on the technical side of things. Because
Really?
generally, if something happens on the, yeah, it seems weird, right? It seems like the technical side should be, much more difficult. But like we went to school to do the technical stuff.
Right.
There are procedures on how to help you out of a problem.
Right.
There are other people to talk to within your organization to help solve the problem. But there's basically a path to take to help
Right.
you get out of the problem. In sales, what works one time may not work the next time, and it may actually backfire on you if you try to apply it. And
Yeah.
you don't know going into it which one it's going to be.
That piece is,
So
man, that's true.
you you
As a
you you
recruiter,
can't. Yeah,
I mean,
you're
as a
selling all
recruiter,
the
I don't even have
time.
a, there isn't even it's not even a product. It's a person on both sides, and
Hmm.
so trying to navigate the sales of keeping the person interested in the job, and also the other direction, keeping the company interested. And uh, man, I mean, I can appreciate what you're saying about sales being
Yeah,
hard. It is hard.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
it's
and a
it's
lot of times
yeah.
for engineers, it's not you're not I know a lot of engineers that don't have the right personality to do sales. It's not for everybody, certainly, that's in the engineering space, but I know a lot of people have had great success doing it, including
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
So
I think I have, yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah.
What we were thinking about going into sales, how would you suggest they try to make that happen from a
Oh,
technical job?
um, basically, I mean, it's a similar thing when you're looking at changing into any next for your career, is understanding if you're a recipient of that role, what are the things that you like about those people that currently hold that role, how they do it, how their brains work, some of the education that you might need to be able to do it, and basically start doing a lot of those things before getting into the
Hmm.
role so that it's more familiar once you get there.
Yeah.
Going from an engineer to a manager role is a big jump for many
Right.
people. Um, it's a completely different mindset that you have to take on. It's a completely different path every day that you would be, doing as a manager as opposed to an individual contributor. Um, but generally, which managers you liked and which managers you didn't like and what they
Hmm.
did that you liked and what they did that you didn't like. Same things go with salespeople, right? I was just talking with a couple of the people that just started with us last week, earlier today, in they haven't necessarily had commercial roles before, and they're looking at responding to some inquiries that have come in. And I talk to them like, write it and then read it as if you're receiving it,
Hmm.
because you don't want to put out into the universe that which you don't want to get.
Yeah.
So that's I mean that's the best that I can I
That's a
think
good
give at
piece.
this point, because you can't know before you're there. But you do know what you like and what you don't like, and that's how you can move into it, I think, in a better way.
Like that. Okay. Um, let's see. Oh, we haven't talked about Pack Expo yet. Pack Expo
Yeah.
is coming up in a couple of months. Oh, well, while we're recording this, let's see, it's middle of August. So, what are the dates? November
It's the end of
2nd?
September into
End of
early
September this
October.
year.
Yeah.
See, I'm not going this year.
Okay.
That's why I don't
Bummer.
have the dates on the top of my head. I've only been to the Vegas show once. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it was certainly a fine time and all of that. But Chicago's right down the street, and
Oh, sure.
uh, you know, going to the show every other year seems like enough for me.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, so Pack Expo's a month and a half away then. Um, are you doing things to prepare right now?
I am. I'm working on setting up appointments with my customers, looking at some of the different activities that'll be there and where I want to be um, uh, at different points of the week. I
Are
think it's really
you
exciting.
are
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
free to when you're at the show? I mean, DuPont's gonna have a booth, right?
We
Uh,
don't. We
you
don't.
don't.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
I mean, I figured some people would be working a booth and you would be meeting with clients and wandering freely, but no booth at all. You all just meet clients in restaurants and hotels and around the show, is that how
Yeah,
you
for
work
the
it?
most part, that's how it is. I can't, I can't speak to the future. I'm not saying that DuPont will never have a booth. This year,
Right.
we do not have one. So yeah, it is, and that's I think the tricky part, whether you're in Chicago or Las Vegas, is if you don't have a booth to meet people, to figure out where those meeting spots can possibly be.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm trying to stay as close as possible to the convention center to make, meetings with customers a little bit easier. Um, but yeah, I mean it's lunches, it's dinners, it's breakfast, that type of thing.
Do you do you know roughly how many pack expos you've been to?
Oh Lordy. Probably at least 10,
Okay.
I would guess. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, about half and half Vegas and Chicago.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably now.
So
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
pretty familiar with the lay of the land. You've been there a handful of times and you got a good idea of what you're getting into. When I was in my biggest struggles at Pack Expo, I think are similar to yours in that it's been, I mean, I don't have a booth. My client, I'm looking for packaging engineers when I'm at these shows. If
Mm.
I have clients that want to meet, great. I'll certainly meet them, and I want to meet new candidates and all that stuff. But um, I can't if I have a booth and a team of packaging engineers are walking around, they're not all going to stop like right in front of their boss to talk to the recruiter at the booth.
For
So
sure, for sure.
um, that's not super. I don't think it would be very productive for me. Maybe there's ways to do it. I don't know, but really, we just kind of go to the show and wander around and look at name tags, walking up and down the aisles, and every 3 or 4 minutes or so, I'll run across a name tag. Oh, I recognize that name, and try to strike up a conversation. But even when we're booking meetings in advance, that would finding knowing where to meet, having space where you could actually have a conversation. If you don't have a booth, that's hard.
It is. It is.
And
Yeah.
you end up standing in a hallway someplace and your feet are hurting and you're thinking, man, I just want to sit down for a little bit. How much longer is this meeting going to be? And uh,
I've stocked many a table at the Caribou, or is it Caribou or I think it's Starbucks in the Chicago
in
Convention Center.
Chicago, it's Starbucks, yeah.
Yeah, Starbucks. I've stocked many a table in that area. There's only like three or four of them, but I get there
Right.
early and wait for people to move so that when my meeting starts, I do actually have a place to sit. But it takes effort. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Huh. I should rent a hall next door to the convention center and a little pack staff meeting zone or something.
Yeah, yeah, you'll pay a pretty penny for that.
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's never going to happen. But
Yeah, I gotcha.
good. So you're making appointments to meet with customers. Have you worked out your travel and all that stuff? You know where you're staying and you're all set?
I know where I'm staying. I haven't booked my flight
Okay.
yet, but that's just a matter of actually doing it. But I think the most im- exciting thing, from my perspective over the last probably 5 or so years, I mean, well, I guess it's probably a little bit seven. Coronavirus still kind of screws up timelines, doesn't it? Is how many more people from the med device side of things are actually starting to show up. Historically,
Uh,
it's been, oh, I'm not going to waste my time going to Pack Expo because it's all, food and consumer goods, and it just
okay.
they don't really have, much packaging for med device side of things. But there are more and more suppliers that are having booths there and more attendees that are coming out for the event. So I think that's been kind of a cool thing to see happen.
Great. Well, I won't see you at this one, but maybe at the next one.
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah. Um, I know a lot of people through the phone, and I'm starting to know more people this way. The video thing's getting more
Yeah.
and more popular, but I'd say roughly 95% of the packaging folks I know I've never met face to face. So it's really, I love going to the shows and shaking hands and meeting new people and going to, sometimes I get eye rolls from packaging engineers when I show up at their alumni dinner. It's like, "What? You didn't go to the school. What are you doing here?" "Well, your school sold me a ticket, so here I am."
That's
And
awesome.
you can go
So
pretty much anywhere if you're willing to pay.
how long have you and I known each other? It's got to be at least 20 years. I mean,
Oh,
to your
well,
point, I don't think we've met each other before. We've talked on the phone multiple times.
yeah, we've talked on the phone plenty of times. When we talked the first time, I'm not exactly certain. I can very confidently tell you that you became part of PackStaff's database on December 13th of 1999.
Okay. Okay.
So
That's
you've been
funny.
around, yeah. Um, well, actually, it's possible. Yeah, that would have been it. That would have been 99 because we didn't do a database. Some records have different insert dates because we did a data, we changed systems
Yeah.
and people got, but yours that's an original right there. So,
Nice.
yeah, we've known you a long
OG.
time.
Woohoo.
Really valued the relationship. Really happy to have you join me today. I think this has been a lot of valuable stuff that we have talked about and shared, will share with our community. Is there a message that you would give to packaging people? Is there a highlight you want to share? Is there a thought on the future? Is there a embarrassing story you want everybody to know?
Oh, geez, no. Plenty of people already know plenty of embarrassing stories about me because they've been there to witness them. So I'm not going to share
That's
any of those. I think the big thing is, and you and I talked about this before we started recording, is for younger people and mid-career people, and even, more tenured, longer in the tooth people, get involved. It's so much fun. Um, and it's not just fun, it's educational, it's expanding, it's helping getting your company's name on the map and recognized as a leader in industry. Um, for the people that are, definitely later in their career, pay it forward. You know,
yeah,
you are, you grew up into your career on the shoulders of giants, and 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 give a leg up to the junior professionals, 'cause they're facing a whole different set of issues that we didn't face, and every bit can help those young professionals. So
love that.
um, it's really fun seeing the new professionals coming in and how eager they are, and it's really hard seeing when somebody has snuffed out that bright light in their eyes, in their excitement. So keep that, help them keep that light alive in their eyes.
Great, great lesson. Uh, Jen Benolken, thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Packaging Speaks. Thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I look forward to meeting you in person, Pack Expo 2027.
Oh no, it'll be 2026.
Oh yeah, it's already, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
already
yeah,
25, so it'll be 26 in Chicago.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
It's all right around the corner.
Very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. Okay, thanks a lot for your time. If anybody wants to reach out to Jen, if you've got questions about Tyvek or want to include it in your packaging, I'm sure she'd love to hear from you through LinkedIn. You checking your LinkedIn regularly. In fact, I think that was the last way I contacted you, right? So,
Yep, yep.
yeah, look her up on LinkedIn. Look, happy. Of course, I'm happy to connect with anybody out there who's looking for work or just wants to network as well. Um, I guess my parting thought would be a lot of your, I was about to say activism, but that's not really what it is. Involvement in these committees, in these leadership spaces, leads to networking opportunities and leads to new relationships and helps set yourself apart. And if you are looking for a reason to volunteer for these things, networking is a good one. The career development opportunities, the growth opportunities that present themselves to the people who show up are too many to count, I think. If you're not showing up, you're going to miss out. So if you won't do it because you want to volunteer, do it for yourself. So thanks again, Jen. Let's do it again. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Christian. It's been a blast talking with you today. I'm screwing this up for sure, so you might want to edit that part out. I'm involved.
No, we'll let you hang out there.
Yeah, hang me out to dry.
How do I
stop recording?
Is there a way to stop recording without hanging up on you, or should we just say goodbye?
Yeah. No, there is. I think it's possibly under more. And then maybe
there it is.
Subscribe. Yeah.
Stop recording.